What would you do if you realized that the most precious gift you could ever give your mother wasn't something you bought, but something you had to bleed, sweat, and rebuild from the very earth itself? Imagine the weight of a promise made in silence, a promise to turn a pile of abandoned lumber into a sanctuary only to have everything hinge on a single, terrifying moment when the blindfold finally slips away. Will it be a dream realized? Or will the cracks in the foundation reveal a truth they aren't ready to face? The air inside the skeleton of the unfinished house is thick with the scent of sawdust and the frantic energy of two people racing against time. Jack, his face smeared with drywall dust, drops a heavy hammer onto the workbench with a dull thud that echoes through the quiet valley. His chest heaves, his shirt clinging to his skin, dampened by hours of relentless labor. Beside him, Tu Tien is moving with a speed that defies exhaustion, her hands shaking slightly as she places a single vibrant vase of wildflowers onto a freshly polished wooden table. This isn't just construction, it's a desperate race to complete a vision before the clock runs out. Outside, the shadows are lengthening across the rugged terrain, marking the final 30 minutes until Mother Ly arrives. Jack wipes his forehead with a ragged sleeve, his eyes scanning the room, hunting for flaws, hunting for anything that might ruin the perfection they've obsessed over for weeks. They have sacrificed sleep, sanity, and comfort, all for this singular, fragile hope. Tu Tien catches his gaze across the room. Her hair is messy, escaping her bun in stray wisps, but her eyes are bright with a mix of terror and exhilaration. 30 minutes, Jack, she whispers, her voice tight with the pressure of the deadline. If the lighting isn't right, or if she senses the paint is still damp, it could ruin the entire surprise. Jack doesn't answer. He just nods, his jaw set, and moves to adjust a bedside lamp, ensuring the glow hits the pillow exactly where he imagined it would. He knows that if they fail today, the disappointment will cut deeper than any physical labor they've endured. But there is a deeper question lurking beneath the surface. Is a house, no matter how beautiful, enough to replace the years of struggle Mother Ly has endured? And what happens if, despite all their love, she looks at this place and sees only the sacrifice, not the sanctuary? The engine of the car hums as it winds its way up the narrow, treacherous road toward the new property. Inside, the atmosphere is suffocatingly tense. Mother Ly sits in the passenger seat, a thick, dark scarf tied firmly over her eyes. She is motionless, her hands folded tightly in her lap, a slight tremor in her fingers betraying her anxiety. She has no idea where she is, or what lies at the end of this journey. The mystery is a physical presence in the car, heavy and cold. "Are you trying to give me a heart attack?" Mother Ly asks, her voice small, muffled by the silence of the vehicle. "My heart isn't what it used to be, you know. Why all this secrecy? Why the blindfold?" Jack grips the steering wheel until his knuckles turn white, his eyes fixed on the winding path ahead. He doesn't glance at Tu Tien, but he feels her sitting tensely in the back seat. Just a little further. "Mom," he says, his voice deceptively steady. "You've spent your whole life giving us everything. Today, we're just returning the favor." Tu Tien reaches forward, gently patting Mother Ly's shoulder, a gesture that feels both comforting and final. "We've been working on something for you," she adds softly, "but you have to wait for the reveal. Please just trust us for a few more minutes." The car rounds a sharp bend, the tires crunching against the gravel. They are here. The moment of truth has arrived. Jack cuts the engine, and the silence that fills the car is absolute, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the frantic beating of his own heart. The stakes have never been higher. One wrong move, one sign of imperfection, and the magic of this reveal could vanish, leaving only the reality of their exhaustion. Jack moves with precision, his movements practiced and calm despite the turmoil within him. He steps out of the car, the cool evening air biting at his skin, and walks around to the passenger side. He opens the door, the sound of the latch clicking like a hammer against an anvil. He offers his hand to his mother, his palms sweaty and trembling slightly. She takes it, her grip hesitant. He guides her out of the vehicle, his heart hammering against his ribs. Every step toward the front gate feels like walking onto a stage. The grass is freshly cut, the scent of pine and wet earth grounding him, reminding him of every long, painful night they spent clearing this land. He leads her toward the massive wooden door, the heart of the home they built. Beside them, Tu Tien waits, her breath held tight in her chest. She is watching Mother Loi's face with an intensity that borders on pain, searching for any flicker of emotion, any sign of anticipation. They stop directly in front of the threshold. Jack lets go of his mother's hand, his fingers brushing against the rough wood of the door frame. He looks at Tu Tien, a silent communication passing between them. This is it. With a slow, deliberate motion, Jack reaches out and turns the handle. The door swings open with a soft, inviting creak. The interior light spills out, warm and amber, bathing the porch in a soft glow. Tu Tien steps forward, her hands moving to the knot behind Mother Loi's head. She hesitates for a microsecond, the final pause before pulling the scarf away. Mother Loi blinks. The transition from darkness to light is jarring. She stands frozen, her eyes wide, struggling to process the sudden brilliance. She looks at the floor, the polished wood reflecting the lamplight. She looks at the walls, the careful joinery of the timber, the way the space feels both brand new and lived in. Then, she looks at the center of the room, where the table sits, waiting for a family to gather around it. Her breath hitches. Her hands rise to cover her mouth, her fingers trembling violently. It's not just a house, it's an impossibility brought to life. She takes a shaky step forward, her eyes scanning the room, searching for the truth. She touches the wall, her fingertips tracing the grain of the wood, feeling the history of the materials they had reclaimed and salvaged. Her eyes are welling up, a glistening, fragile shine that threatens to spill over. The silence in the room is heavy, weighted with years of unspoken burdens and the sudden relief of having a place to rest. Jack watches her, his own vision blurring. He sees the way her shoulders drop, the way the tension she has carried for a lifetime seems to evaporate in this small, curated space. She turns to face them, her expression a fragile masterpiece of shock, gratitude, and a profound, quiet sorrow that they are finally home. She doesn't speak. She doesn't have to. The way she looks at them, seeing the exhaustion in their faces, the calluses on their hands, the dirt still staining their clothes tells them everything. She realizes the cost of this peace. She realizes that they hadn't just built a structure. They had built a fortress against the world, brick by brick, beam by beam, just for her. The minutes tick by in a blur of quiet discovery. Mother Loi wanders through the space, touching a ceramic pot, pulling out a chair at the table, leaning her weight against the sturdy beams of the living area, as if testing to see if the dream is real. Every movement is slow, reverent. She is reclaiming a sense of self she had long ago surrendered to the demands of daily survival. Jack and Tu Tien follow a few steps behind, their own exhaustion beginning to hit them, but the sight of her transformation is a restorative balm. They move to the kitchen, where the final details a bowl of fresh fruit, a loaf of warm bread wait. They sit, the three of them, in the soft light of the house. The world outside the windows is dark and vast, but inside, the world has shrunk to the size of this table. It is a moment of profound, quiet holiness. I never thought. Mother Loi begins, her voice cracking, barely a whisper. She stops, unable to find the words, and instead reaches across the table to take both of their hands. Her touch is cool, steady, and grounding. I never thought I would have this again. Jack feels a lump form in his throat. He thinks of the nights they nearly gave up, the times the money ran dry, the moments when the sheer scale of the project seemed to mock them. But sitting here now, in the warmth of the fire, the struggles feel like a distant, faded memory. The house isn't just wood and nails. It is a testament to the fact that love is not a feeling, but an act of service. It is a debt paid in sweat, a promise kept against the odds. He looks at Tu Tien, who is watching his mother with an expression of such tenderness that it makes his heart ache. She had been the backbone of this project, the one who kept the vision alive when he wanted to abandon it. He realizes then that they have changed. The weight of this responsibility has forged something new between them. It's no longer just the romance of two people building a future. It's the solid, unshakable bond of two people who have learned what it means to protect the things that matter most. The dinner is simple. A soup, some bread, some fruit, but it feels like a feast. They don't talk about the construction anymore. They don't talk about the money or the planning. They talk about the future, about the small things. A garden they might plant near the fence. A window that catches the morning light perfectly. The way the house will sound when it rains. It is the conversation of people who are finally allowed to exhale. As the night deepens, the energy of the day finally starts to ebb. The adrenaline that had propelled them for weeks is replaced by a heavy, satisfied weariness. Mother Ly eventually stands, smoothing her clothes, her face softened by a peace that had been absent for years. She moves to the doorway, looking back at the room one last time before turning to them. She pulls them both into a hug, a tight, desperate embrace that says more than 1,000 speeches ever could. It is the hug of a mother who has seen her children grow into protectors, and the hug of a woman who finally feels safe enough to let go of her guard. Jack feels her head rest against his shoulder, her breath steady, and he knows that every sacrifice, every bruised knuckle, every hour of doubt was worth this single, solitary moment. They stand like that for a long time, a quiet knot of people in the heart of a home they built from nothing. The house creaks slightly as it settles into the night, the wood adjusting to the warmth of the life they've brought into it. It is a bittersweet realization that the journey to build this place was the most difficult thing they've ever done, but that the life they will live here will be the most beautiful. When they finally pull away, there is a quiet, unspoken understanding in their eyes. The hard work isn't over. There will always be roofs to patch, gardens to tend, and struggles to face, but the foundation is solid. They aren't the same people who started this journey months ago. They have been tempered by the work, hardened by the challenges, and softened by the love that necessitated it all. Mother Ly walks toward her new room, her footsteps light, a shadow of the woman who had arrived with a blindfold and a heart full of uncertainty. Jack and Tu Tien are left alone in the living area, the glow of the lamp casting long shadows against the walls. They don't say anything immediately. They just stand there, side by side, listening to the sounds of the night and the faint, rhythmic movement of Mother Ly settling into her new space. "We did it," Tu Tien whispers, her voice barely audible, a mixture of awe and exhaustion. Jack takes her hand, his fingers interlocking with hers. He looks around the room, seeing the imperfections in the paint, the slight unevenness of the floorboards, the marks of their hands, the evidence of their effort. It is imperfect, and it is entirely, wonderfully theirs. "We did," he agrees, his voice low and firm. He knows that the story of this farm, this house, and this family is only just beginning. There will be more challenges, more moments where they will feel stretched to their breaking point, but as he looks at the door their mother had closed, he knows they will face it all from a place of strength. They have learned that the greatest act of love is the willingness to sacrifice everything to build a place where the people you love can finally be at peace. Outside, the wind begins to pick up, whistling through the trees that surround the property. But inside, everything is still. The house holds the warmth, the light, and the silence of a life reborn. It is a sanctuary, a monument to their commitment, and a testament to the fact that when you build with intention, you aren't just creating a home, you are creating a legacy. And in this quiet golden hour, as the embers of the day die down, Jack knows that the most important construction wasn't the house itself, but the family they have rebuilt within its walls. He turns off the lamp, the darkness rushing in to fill the corners, but he isn't afraid. They are home. And for the first time in a long time, home is exactly where they belong. The silence is no longer heavy with questions. It is filled with the calm, steady rhythm of a future they have finally earned the right to live. They have moved from the chaos of the build into the responsibility of the life, and in that transition, they have found something far more durable than wood or stone. They have found their way back to each other. The night holds them, the house shelters them, and the promise of tomorrow waits just beyond the rising sun, no longer a challenge to be met, but a life to be lived. They turn and walk toward their own space, leaving the living room to its stillness, the air filled with the quiet, lingering scent of fresh pine and the unmistakable peace of a journey fulfilled. The story of the farm, of Jack and Tu Tien, is no longer just a narrative of survival, it is a narrative of redemption. And as they close their eyes, they know that whatever tomorrow brings, they will face it together, anchored in the foundation they built with their own two hands, protected by the love they refuse to let wither, and strengthened by the knowledge that the best parts of their story are the ones they haven't written yet. The house stands, silent and strong, a beacon in the valley, holding their secrets, their struggles, and the quiet, triumphant truth that they had, against all odds, created something that would last. The cycle of the day closes. The stars wheel slowly overhead, and the home they built breathes in the dark, a living, pulsing testament to the fact that love is the only thing that makes a house a home, and the only thing worth fighting for when everything else is stripped away. They are at peace, and for now, that is enough. The fire is out, the house is dark, but the warmth remains, lingering in the wood, in the air, and in the hearts of those who made it all possible. The journey is complete, the surprise is a success, and the future, once a terrifying unknown, is now a horizon they can finally look toward with hope, with courage, and with each other. The final chapter of the build is written, but the story of their life in this house, in this sanctuary, is only just beginning, and they know, with a certainty that transcends the physical walls surrounding them, that they are exactly where they are meant to be. The night carries their dreams into the valley, and the house, their beautiful, imperfect, hard-won house, stands watch, keeping them safe, keeping them together, as the world sleeps on, unaware of the miracle that has taken root in this small, quiet corner of the earth. They rest, they heal, and they prepare, for tomorrow is another day, and they are ready. They are ready to live, to love, and to continue building not just a house, but a life that honors the sacrifices of the past and embraces the infinite possibilities of the future. The house is a start, a foundation, and a promise that no matter how hard the road, no matter how heavy the burden, they will always find their way back home. And in the end, that is all that really matters. The journey was long, the cost was high, but the destination here, now is the greatest prize they could have ever hoped for. They are home, they are together, and they are, at long last, at peace. The house stands as a silent witness to their devotion, a monument to their struggle, and a testament to their love, holding them fast in the soft, dark quiet of the night. A sanctuary built not of wood, but of the indestructible ties that bind them to each other, to their mother, and to the life they have so painstakingly constructed. It is a new beginning, a fresh start, and a beautiful, quiet triumph over the uncertainty that had haunted their steps for so long. They are home, and the world is finally, mercifully at peace.